Today is December 22nd, 2020, or as I like to call it, the first day of Fiendmas. Hello, Fiendlings, how the hell are ya? Did I mention it's Fiendmas? That means the first 4 episodes of Derelict Trident are yours for the feasting. But being the Fiendmaster, I'm only going to give you 1 per day because I know how gluttonous you little Fiendlings are. These are also gifts to me, because once Trident is finished, you'll get Shipyards, and by then I'll hopefully have another book ready for you. Something called The Black Extinction. But I digress. Ditch that Santa suit, put on your mag boots, grab that flechette rifle, and let's head to trans-Neptunian space where the end seems very fucking nigh. Be safe, have a great day, and we'll talk again tomorrow. Oh, wait. If you haven't listened to the first 3 books in the Derelict Saga, stop. You are going to be mostly lost and load the story. Best to start with Derelict Marines, available via podcast, ebook, audiobook, YouTube, and etc., and make your way through Tomb and Destruction before getting here. That said, here's episode 1 of Derelict Trident, book 4, the Derelict Saga. Enjoy. Billions of stars twinkle by massive nebulae. Untold hunks of ice, rock, and other materials sped through space, their only source of illumination hundreds of light years away. Planets, moons, celestial bodies of all types moved in the darkness, unseen, but their existence was somehow reassuring. Defying the void, defying the absence of existence, the shards of creation orbited around planets, stars, galaxies, and perhaps some unknown center of the universe, until now. The starlight, flickering like an untold number of penlights in an enormous, infinite cavern of darkness, dimmed. Each individual point faded away until it became part of the endless non-existence lying between the signs of cosmic life. As each disappeared, the darkness increased in its vastness and suffocating emptiness. The colorful nebulae, the cast-offs of creation, blanched and drained of their color as though someone had turned down the universe's contrast. As the twinkling dots disappeared, some en masse, some individually, something else replaced them. A presence, stifling, suffocating, lung-crushing. There was something growing. Cancer of void eating everything in the universe, all the light, all existence. The universe's light bled out into an abyss that seemed to grin. Chapter 1. Dunn's eyes opened as he took his first non-stasis liquid breath. Panicking, his hands scrabbled over the stasis pod's edges, his fingers banging and catching on the cold steel shell. He coughed, wheezed, and vomited as his lungs cleared the fluid. The dim lights hurt his eyes, and for a moment he thought he was still in the grips of the nightmare, the one where the stars all went out one by one. His knuckles whitened as he flexed and clenched his fingers, teeth clacking together and catching the edge of his tongue. A bright flash of pain shot through him, leaving him seeing a new galaxy of stars that slowly faded away.
"Captain,"
a familiar female voice said. Dunn spit a long line of reddish drool to the deck. "Where?" The word came out in a hoarse croak he could barely hear. "Black?"
"Yes, Captain,"
the AI said. He wiped a hand across his eyes and flung an oozy stream of liquid to the deck. "Why is it so bright?"
"It's not, Captain. Give your eyes a moment to adjust. I don't remember you having this much trouble with stasis before."
Dunn groaned as he stepped out of the pod. He stretched his back, a little surprised at the number of pops that rattled from his spine, opened his mouth to speak, and stopped. The other stasis pods were still closed. "Black, I'm the only one awake?"
"Yes, Captain,"
she said.
"Perhaps the reason you're having such difficulty recovering from stasis is a result of the emergency revival."
"Emergency," he said. His voice cracked before dropping into a nearly inaudible growl. "What's going on?"
"We are not in danger at this moment,"
Black said.
"but a situation has arisen and I wanted to speak with you before waking the rest of the crew."
He stumbled to the showers, started the water, and prepared for a bracing, ridiculously cold spray to splash across him. Instead, the water was warmer than he liked, bordering on burning. He jumped back in surprise, shivered in the ship's cold air, and quickly stepped back into the streams of water.
I took the liberty of warming the heaters. Since I had to awaken you early, it was the least I could do.
I appreciate that, Black, he said. The stasis liquid rapidly solubilized beneath the spray, leaving his skin feeling clean. That's better, he said. A small cloud of steam hovered above his head. He turned and let the water rush down his back, his eyes still adjusting to the light. He shut off the shower and stood still for a moment to let the ship's cold air wash over him. That shiver, that pleasant shiver of warm skin meeting the ship's atmosphere was a welcome one. It meant he was still alive. Really alive. The freezing deck beneath his feet finally gave him a reason to leave the stasis bay and head to the personnel lockers. As he dressed, he waited for Black to interrupt him with information. Instead, she was uncharacteristically quiet. The longer the silence dragged on, the more alone he felt. He'd never been out of stasis before while the rest of the crew slumbered. It was an eerie feeling. Jumpsuit on, boots on his feet, Dunn stepped out of the lockers. Well, Black, now what?
Please make your way to the galley, Captain. You'll need coffee, an entire pod.
The AI was cheerful enough, but there also seemed to be a sense of urgency in her voice. He didn't like it, not one bit. Talk to me, he said as he walked down the corridor. What's our situation? What happened? Black paused before speaking.
We are currently 6 hours from Trident Station, Captain. Deceleration burns will commence in 4 hours' time.
Ship status?
Apart from a few routine maintenance duties and a few sensors that need replacement, the ship is intact.
Good. Dunn reached the galley and found the dispenser ready and a fresh mag mug in the hopper. With gluttonous glee, he picked up the cup and began to slurp the hot liquid. It burned his throat, but this too was a welcome sensation. Pain meant life. Pain coupled with pleasure? Life was good. While he drank from the mag mug, he placed a pitcher in the dispenser and waited for it to fill. If we're on course, the ship isn't damaged, and we're all still alive, why are you waking me up early?
I'd prefer to have this conversation in the briefing room, Captain.
Of course you would, he muttered. She didn't respond. As he walked to the briefing room, he connected his block to the ship's status reports. Black was right. They'd survived and didn't appear to be in any immediate danger. So why was she waking him up? The beacon, he said aloud. The beacon hit Pluto, didn't it?
Yes, Captain,
she said. He entered the briefing room, amazed at how lifeless it seemed. Even when he had the room to himself while planning missions or preparing a briefing, the gentle drone of the engines was a calming, relaxing sound. It had kept him company whenever the room was empty, and he sought to be alone. Now, it felt more like the whisper of a dangerous animal. The hollow display sprang to life above the table. Tiled windows appeared with views of space, their course, and life signs of the crew and the rescued scientists. His status simply said, awake. Certainly wish I wasn't, he thought. Okay, Black, he said and placed the pitcher of coffee on the table. What's going on? An image in the upper right corner expanded and pushed the other windows to the side. Dunn felt an uneasy jitter in his stomach, and it sure as hell wasn't from hunger. The image was of Pluto, taken from the Pluto Exo Observatory, or PEO.
Mickey continued sending data, analyses, and footage until the last picosecond,
Black said. As Dunn watched, a bright flare creased the darkness surrounding the dwarf planet. The fiery streak continued, glowing against the halo surrounding the planet's dark side. The sled carrying the alien beacon slammed into the largest of Pluto's craters without a sound, without light. A second later, the crater began to glow. Liquid and gas geysered from its surface, the entire planet seeming to melt and explode all at the same time, exposing a dense core. The light brightened enough to overload the camera's filters, but something in the corner caught his eye. While the rest of the image was nearly white, something the color of silver ran through it. The image froze, leaving Dunn staring at it, doing his best to make sense of it. He realized he'd been holding his breath. His heart was beating fast, And his mag mug of coffee? Well, it had been on its way to his mouth when his arms had frozen in shock. What the void is that? He said, his free hand pointing at the corner.
Unknown.
Black said.
Spectral analysis suggests it's an ore of some kind.
A vein of ore?
I don't think so, Captain.
The image unfroze, turned completely white, and then the feeds ceased.
Mickey's sensors detected a massive rise in Pluto's temperature. In addition to the planet's surface transitioning from ice to liquid to gas, the beacon's impact converted much of the mass into CO2.
How much? Dunn asked. He finally had enough control to take a sip.
Unknown. My sensors and instrumentation are insufficient to answer that question.
Is Pluto still there?
If it is, it no longer reflects light.
The statement, matter of fact and delivered without emotion, sent a shiver down his spine. Pluto is a KBO, Dickerson had tried to tell them minutes before the beacon slammed into the planet. And the creatures that had attacked them, the ones that had hitched a ride with Mira, had also been Kuiper Belt objects. Pluto was merely the largest known celestial body out there. Did the beacon awaken Pluto the way it had awakened the other KBOs near Mira? Had the alien artifact released hundreds of thousands of the creatures from their icy prison? And if it did, would they make their way further into Sol's system? Dunn pulled out a chair and sat, his weak legs immediately thanking him. All the strength had gone out of his body, the mag mug feeling heavy in his hands. Holy shit, he said. We blew up a fucking planet.
The beacon did.
Black said.
Only blow up is an inaccurate description.
Inaccurate? He pounded a fist on the table. What's the difference, Black?
Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. Pluto has presumably transitioned into gas, ice shards, and rock. And
the image on the hollow display zoomed in on the silver-colored corner.
Whatever this might be.
Void wept, Dunn whispered. His stomach, previously grateful for the coffee, churned with acid and the taste of vomit spread into his mouth. He rubbed a sheen of clammy sweat from his forehead. What is that?
Good question, Captain,
Black said. The image changed colors as the AI applied filters to the image. The silver color flashed red, yellow, and green before dissolving into the color of rust, a halo of darkness surrounding it.
I don't have the knowledge to properly analyze Mickey's data stream, and even if I did, it's unlikely he had instruments sensitive enough to tell us exactly what happened.
Dunn realized he'd been rolling the mag mug between his hands, the warmth of the cup somehow reassuring him. He stared down at the table, losing himself in the whirls of light cast by the overheads. Drunk, stoned, anything would help take the edge off the sinking feeling in his guts and the terror lurking just beneath. What about the trio? What do they say? Black paused for a moment while the hollow display cleared. An image of Neptune appeared, scant shapes backlit by the planet's strange blue color.
Trident Station is not responding to hails, Captain. Neither is anyone else in Sol system.
What? Dunn bumped the mag mug and the liquid noisily sloshed around. What do you mean? He pointed at the display. Isn't it right there?
Yes, Captain. Those shapes are Trident Station and the Neptune shipyards. Notice there are no lights on many portions of the station.
Dunn's forehead wrinkled as he focused on the screen, trying to prove Black wrong. She wasn't. Even as small as the shapes were on the display, he still should have been able to see the yellow warning beacons and the bright approach beacons of the S&R hangar modules. Instead, they might as well have been strangely shaped rocks floating around the planet. Black, what happened? The display cleared again, a view of mostly empty darkness replacing it. A label in the bottom corner said, Aft Cam. Dunn opened his mouth to ask Black just what the void the point of this was, and then stopped. A bright point of light appeared in the darkness before rapidly increasing in size and spreading like giant, unfolding wings. From the camera's perspective, the spreading light covered everything visible. Dunn could tell the wave of light was moving forward, particles of matter dancing in the cosmic flash. The cam went dark and the feed ended. The display wiped again, and a new feed appeared with the label Bow Cam. At first, Dunn wasn't certain what he was looking at. All he saw was a white and green screen. Sprinkles of particles appeared, and the light slowly faded, but didn't disappear. It continued moving past until it became a wide and tall smear of color against the emptiness of space. That's the wave, Dunn said.
Yes, Captain. The energy released by the beacon's contact with Pluto created a form of energy that traveled further into Sol system. I managed to shut down all non-essential systems before the wave collided with the ship. If I hadn't, our communications arrays would have burnt out from the EMR.
Dunn shook his head as the screen dissolved once more into the vision of Neptune. You think the wave hit Trident Station in the shipyards and knocked out their comms?
Correct.
Black said.
However, since none of the satellites around Uranus nor Saturn have responded, I fear the phenomenon has reached much further into Sol system, possibly even to Earth.
It's like an EMP?
I believe so, Captain. Military craft are hardened against weaponized electromagnetic pulses, but only their essential systems. Because I knew the wave was coming and I would be caught by it, I had time to shut down any electronics that might be affected.
Void, Dunn muttered. No comms.
No comms.
Black agreed.
At least none that I have detected. Sol system appears to have gone silent.
Dunn tented his hands on the table, fingers slowly dancing over one another. He felt like slamming his head into the table. Unconsciousness was preferable to this shit show. At least that doesn't change our trajectory. Black said nothing. The awkward silence stretched until he could no longer stand it. Tell me, he said.
There are two more issues I need to bring to your attention.
Are these the reasons you woke me up early?
Yes.
Black said.
There is one signal I've been able to pick up.
I thought you said there were no signals.
Only one,
She said.
S&R Red's emergency beacon.
He sat up in his chair. Where is she? The view of Neptune zoomed out until the blue planet was little more than a colorful jewel against the night of space. A red dot appeared some distance from the planet.
S&R Red is less than 30 minutes from our current trajectory. However, we will be forced to expend a large amount of fuel to decelerate and match her orbit. In addition, our ultimate arrival at Neptune will be delayed significantly.
If we stop to secure her, will we have enough fuel to make it back to Trident?
Yes, Captain, but our energy reserves will be nearly empty by the time we arrive.
Great, Dunn said. You and Oakes will have to buddy up on that one. Same with Noble. We'll need a plan of burns and attitude adjustments.
Yes, Captain.
If she's in trouble, we need to look for survivors.
Of course, Captain. I will compile data packages for the command crew.
Thank you, Black. He continued staring at the screen, almost afraid to ask the question. And what is the second item you need to bring to my attention? The holo display image flashed as it transitioned to another camera feed. The label at the bottom said, Cargo Bay Cam 1. Dunn frowned. The light in the cargo bay was practically non-existent, making it difficult to see more than mere shapes. What am I looking at? Strong white light flashed from the cargo bay overheads so fast that Dunn barely made any sense of it.
Let me play that back for you, Captain.
The screen went back to shadows before the bright light erupted. The image froze. Dunn's jaw went slack. Black, wake up the command crew and the infantry, everyone but our casualties. His eyes continued poring over the image, and he tried to ignore the goose flesh spreading across his skin like a tidal wave. Do it now.